Hey guys, it's an election season. St. George City elections are the most important thing. We want you to go to votestg.com and find out who's running and what they stand for. See us all over Southern Utah in our voter information booth. We'll be at Digby's Market, Red Rock Bicycles, and the park. We'll see you out there.
Well, we already have Suntran. So at this point, then, as I talked to Cameron, I said, the only way we ever get involved in that with Suntran is if it benefits Suntran as a whole. And that's where then the funding comes down that we can put in some infrastructure that we'll use at Suntran, which is not a moneymaker. It's also heavily subsidized. Suntran, our local bus system, it does not make money and may never.
It will never.
Yeah. And I don't know of one that does.
It doesn't have the incentive to make money because it knows that the government has its back. If push comes to shove, they'll take a loss on it.
Yep.
And it's called a loss leader in business.
Yep.
Some businesses don't make money. Some franchises, right? You'll this Walmart will make money and then this one won't, right?
So the question is, will it alleviate traffic, or is it providing a service that you're really willing to subsidize? That's the fact of the matter, and we should never.
You voted yes.
Yes, you should never hide from that. So the money's there. This is the Suntran system is actually
who got us the money.
Okay, so that's UDOT.
Okay, UDOT
it comes through UDOT. There is
who voted on that.
There's a transportation board here in the county. It's made up of all the cities in the county.
Okay, to
make sure we have interconnectivity between cities. So Mayor Hart from Ivins chairs that board. I sit on that board. Danielle Larkin, the mayor. That's the three of us from St. George. And so we talk about
how big is the board? Quorum of the 12.
There's probably at least 12 members. So every city has a member. The bigger cities have more than one. Like St. George, we have the 3 voting members.
Equal representation.
Yeah,
based on population.
The idea is there's a lot of federal and state money that comes down for transportation. How do we best spend that to make sure our transportation system connects between the cities? It's not just about St. George. It's about how do we get up and down I-15, and how do we connect with Washington, the George Washington Parkway. There was some collaboration there, and then the Southern Corridor. All those things are discussed in that board, and there's a 50-year plan that we have out there, and then we modify it as things change. So that's where the idea was first hatched. The county's been a very big proponent of pushing this.
So that was started 5 years ago, and we're getting to
I'm going to say at least 5 years ago. As far as when the money came out, our original plan was, let's put this out there to like St. George Shuttle and some of them, and see if the private
sector wanted to pick it up,
can pick it up and make it work.
Not a chance.
No, not at the rates, and to increase the ridership to what it needs to be. So
I can't imagine these buses are going to have 10 people on it.
Right.
Why?
Again, I'm not going to vouch for it.
I'm trying to think. All the people that have ever visited me in St. George over the last, because I've been here since 2015. I'm a new guy from California. I'm like the thing that the locals are like, oh my gosh, this kid. Yeah. He's not even from here. What is he doing? Right? Like, I'm that guy. But I'm also, I feel like at a certain point I had perspective.
Sure.
And so I'm looking at us going down, and the people that visit me, they want to go with me. And if the bus doesn't allow it, because once you get into Springdale, then, there's some bus system that can go around, or people will hike around. But really, the car is still kind of the best way to get around. It's a little windy. Yeah. There's not like a little walking street, right? It's kind of a long road.
Yeah.
So the design of the town in general is for a car, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just can't imagine if we were to all go up there, you'd almost feel trapped. It's not far enough away to where you're like, I'm going to ride it up there and spend the night.
Right.
The idea of riding that thing back after being a day up in Zion does not sound like something I'd want to do.
No, I'm not going to ride it either. And so that remains to be seen. So that's a legitimate question to say, hey, what, is
now that we have them, can we sell them and then do something different?
Yeah. So it's guaranteed to be funded for so many, I think it's 10 years or 15 years. I'll have to look at that. At that end of that, there's no guarantees. So that money could be, you're legitimate in saying that money could be completely wasted at that point. Will anybody ride it? That remains to be seen. We just had, a part of that discussion is we just had the transportation commissioner in Cache Valley come down and speak to us in that board. And they've moved to a no cost transportation system. I can't remember what the word is for it now. It's not free. It's not a free ride. It's zero fare. That's what they call it. Zero fare.
Euphemism.
Yeah. So because free ride is a misnomer because it's not free. Someone's paying for it.
Right.
Someone's paying for it. You or I or someone, federal taxpayers are paying for it because it's subsidized. But the way they get the usage that has the impact that they want, which is to reduce traffic, is it has to be zero fare. So that's something in the back of our minds too.
We won't use it if we don't pay for it. If we have to pay for it, we won't use it.
Right.
That's the idea.
And so, that's the idea. So will people ride it if it's zero fare? And then how do you pay for that? And then it's just an endless cycle of, it's going to have to be subsidized. So is the benefit of that subsidy, is it worth it? Is it really going to reduce the traffic to where it has an impact? And I don't know the answer to that. But the question then is, if the money's there, and at the end of the day, if that all goes away, our Suntran infrastructure is going to be better because of it. That's when I switched the corner and said, okay, when I talked to Cameron Cutler, our public works guy, he said, this will benefit us in the long run, even if it goes away, because of the money that we will get for running the system will improve our infrastructure, our Suntran infrastructure. At the end of the day, we win.
Yeah.
So even if it goes away, we win, but it's going to cost. There's a cost to it. There's no free.
There's a cost to it, right?
Yeah.
So then going back to the free market, like where do we start to draw the line at the city level with how we allow the gatekeepers to come and go? Because at a certain point, we've lost sight. In my opinion, we've lost sight of a bottom up governmental structure where the districts and the representatives, the delegates, right, the electoral college, are the ones that are kind of leading the charge as developments go. Because the only thing I would say is this is when I'm going to use Springdale as the example. In 2015, which May 5th, we moved here, 2015, we went up to Zion National Park on Christmas Day. We saw two people. I drove all the way to the end, Riverside Walk, saw two cars
Used to be the best time to go.
On Christmas Day.
Yeah.
We have thousands and thousands of people that are coming Christmas Day to Zion National Park.
Yeah.
That was 2015. In the third Christmas, they started trams. That was 3 years.
Yeah.
But we made a policy on transportation 5 years ago, and we still haven't even seen the bus yet. And our entire world has exploded in that 5-year time. Yeah. So we made decisions with the information that we had, because we're only as good as the information that we have at the time.
Right.
Is it possible that moving forward, we start to look at St. George? We got it almost where we change our we have to almost look further down the future and say, what at the current race of technology, at the current pace, if something's going to be a loss leader, what's the best possible loss leader on public transportation that we could do right now?
Yeah. That
5 years from now, we look back and we're like, holy crap, it's like the reservoirs. The brilliance that our heritage did in prepping for water, they missed the boat on the transportation side.
Right.
And we had a lot of geographic dynamics that come into play. But does that thought maybe help me?
No, I see what you're saying. And so that's the tough question, because on the other side of that spectrum, there are people and members of that board who would like to see us force people maybe to ride public transportation or ride the bus by not building as many roads. So part of what you're saying is that forethought does not say only plan for buses. Let's keep building the roads, because like I think I heard you say, I'm going to keep driving my car.
Yeah, like if you go to Thailand,
that's American to me.
If you go to Bangkok, guess what people ride? Scooters.
Yeah,
they're like, it's tight. Then they eliminate lanes.
Yeah,
right. Like it doesn't just be like, then they'll ride public transportation. No, they're still going to get around as fast as they can.
Right.
With whatever alleyways they have, because we're like ants.
Yep.
Right. We're all just like falling into our trails or the rabbit trails or whatever. So less roads. That's not going to help.
Sure. And I
feel like there's a very obvious answer, and I haven't heard it said.
Okay. Build more roads.
Subway.
Yeah. Oh well. Ooh, now you're talking huge money.
Think if we had 500,000 people in Washington County from Hurricane to St. George, but we had a 21st century subway system.
Yeah.
On electric tracks.
Sure. Yeah.
And maybe not electric because we have an energy problem, right? We come up with something, but we have so many ups and downs. The gravity, I bet you gravity track, because Ivans is so much higher than St. George. Anything moving from Ivans to St. George would just move on its own. It wouldn't even need very much energy to go. We have sandstone. There's tunnels. The Washington, in Middleton, have you heard about the caves that are back in there?
Yeah.
You've seen that? Yeah. You know how fast he can go?
How?
He can dig into that sand tunnel. He could do, I think he told me 25 square feet in 10 minutes.
Wow. But then you still have people like me that we're just always going to drive our car.
I know. So, have you been to New York?
Yeah.
Did you ride the subway?
In New York, I did.
You did?
And I just barely came back from Washington, D.C. The same thing. Rode it there as well.
Was it?
The Metro.
It was actually...
No, it's good.
The way it's set up, right? And actually, if you just
and there, I would hate to drive. I would hate to drive.
Had you even considered a subway?
No, absolutely no.
Thinking about it now, though, I'm curious. Like maybe if you let that marinate for a minute and look at because I think of if we were to dig a tunnel between Green Springs and Red Hills Parkway instead of going over.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it would eliminate everybody's worries.
That reminds me of Mary McCarthy used to always talk about, digging a tunnel under the old airport hill so you could get to Green Valley a lot easier.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's weird. And then it's like, well, that wouldn't be so bad. Like, think how
wasn't the I-15 a tunnel before?
The I-15? No, they always had the cut there, didn't they?
I don't know.
Yeah.
They
always had it. It was a cut. Yeah.
But I think of Kolob, right? And like that tunnel and
tunnel in Zion.
Exactly. So thinking about that a little deeper, I think there might be some solutions. I pitched this to Danielle. I was like, electric track along the trail system, right? Little pods like going everywhere. But I'm like, what's legitimate? What's in it? Because if it's going to be a loss leader, a transportation loss leader, what's the best possible one we could do?
And that's an interesting thought. Would that be better than, buses? And I don't know that.
Because if I could jump on a little subway, because you have little pop-up chutes all over that don't require a lot of infrastructure. It's like a little hut with stairs.
Yeah.
And if I was in Ivans, I'd ride the subway into St. George every day.
Well, even in DC, between the House and the Senate chambers, there's little trains underneath where you can jump on, little like a golf cart and trains, and you just
And I think
that makes sense.
If you take the 21st century of doing stuff digitally but where the people come here because they want to go outside and they want to go to all the different aspects.
Sure.